Good evening everyone, and welcome to this week's update. With it only now being just over a week until we return to school, I wanted tonight to go through all of the information about returning to school and what we've put in place and the changes to the day, so that you've got all the information at your disposal. I appreciate that a lot of you are still very, very concerned and worried, and I've had a lot of emails from parents saying, well, what are we doing? How are we keeping the school safe? And tonight I hope to be able to show you and go through everything that we're doing. There's been a small team of people who have worked tirelessly throughout the summer holidays getting the school ready for your children, and I'd like to thank all of those involved at both primary and secondary who have been in, given up their own time, sacrificed time with their own children and families to make sure that the school is as safe as possible. I'd love to be able to say that it's completely risk-free, but you'd know that I was lying if I did say that. What I can tell you is that we've done everything we possibly can to be able to make sure the school is as safe as possible. And that's the key thing. We have spent a lot of money in making changes, putting things in place so that we can make sure that it's as safe as possible for staff, for students, and for everybody involved in running the school. And that's the key thing. Getting students back to school is going to be really, really important. They've missed 6 months of school. And so getting them back in the building has got to be our first priority. But I know that may take some time. So we're going to work with you. Obviously, we don't want anybody to feel unsafe. And if you do have any concerns, then please do contact the school throughout the next week and over the next coming weeks so that we can work with you to make sure that you feel as safe and as reassured as possible. Each week I'm contacting Public Health, Calderdale, to make sure that we have the latest information, and I'm working with them as closely as possible, looking at what we can do extra for the school. And that's what we've done all the time, is how can we do things extra. So we've made a lot of changes that I'm going to go through now with you, and hopefully this will help put you at ease, make you feel a little bit more confident about what we're doing at school. Okay, so returning to school. First of all, these are the dates that students will be returning to school. The reason why we've got quite a low staggered start, quite a long staggered start, is so that students each year group get 1 day in school on their own. This is so they become familiar with the school again. They can wander around the school, they can have a look at all the different processes and procedures, and we can make sure that everything is running as well as it can be, which is why we've got 1 year group in at a day, and that's really important to us. You can see that on Thursday the 10th of September, we've then got 3 year groups out. This is 7, 8 and 11. That is, again, to see how the school runs with 3 year groups. The following day, on the Friday the 11th of September, we've just got year 9 and 10 in. And then after that, on Monday the 14th, is the first day we've got a full school open. That gives us an opportunity, that gives us about a week and a half to make sure that all of the things are in place for school and that we can adjust and we can talk to you and talk to students about any of their concerns and worries without there being over 1,000 children in school. So next we then have a look at timings. As you will know, one of the things that we've done is slightly stagger the start and the end of the day. This is to make sure we don't have thousands or hundreds of children arriving in school at any one time. And this guidance is for secondary school, and we'll be sending out primary guidance as well. And Mr. Shaw's done some videos explaining all of that as well. So these timings, year 7, 8 and 9, they're to arrive at 8 o'clock or as near to 8 o'clock as possible. Their arrival time is 8 to 8:15. After that, then from then year 10 and year 11, they arrive at 8:15 to 8:30. We will close the gates at 8:30. This means that students must be in school, and this is so we can, again, protect the bubbles. So I'm going to talk about bubbles quite a lot during this video, and basically what that means is we've created one bubble around year 7, around year 8, around year 9, around year 10, and around year 11. This means that those students shouldn't come into contact with any other students from any other year group. So should there be an infection in one of the year groups, it's just that year group that might have to go home and not the whole school. But obviously we'll be communicating all of this all the time with you. So that's what time a year group should turn up. So one of the big changes we've made is zone the school. So what we've tried to do is give each zone a specific, or each year group a specific zone and a set of classrooms where they will spend the day. Now they will use different zones in the school, so they won't have it, other than year 7, they will go to different classrooms on different days. And this is to make sure that they still have access to all of their different courses. And that's been really important for us, to make sure that they still get the full curriculum. And some schools have cancelled courses, some schools have not done this. We want to make sure that every student still gets an opportunity to, and it won't be every day, but they get to go to a science lab, they'll get to go to an art room, they'll get to go to all of the specialist rooms so that they can fulfil the curriculum. As I say, it's just year 7 that have got a specific zone of their own, and this is to ease them in, because obviously it's going to be quite a traumatic start potentially for some year 7s anyway. So there are 6 zones in the secondary school, 5 zones in the main building and 1 zone in JB, and this is for the inclusion children. So students won't mix zones during the day, so they'll just be in one zone, and the movement will just be protected in that one zone. And each year group has got a designated indoor and outdoor space for break and lunch, so that's where they'll be spending their time. And again, they won't be mixing with other year groups. And I know that's going to be a challenge, but that's really important to keep these safety and health and safety protocols in place. So this is what it looks like, and you can see the colours on the screen, and each zone is a different colour. JB, the ground floor classrooms to JB are also part of the yellow zone. So you can see how we're going to be doing this with the zones around the school. So, and then this is just a little bit more information about that, just about the strategy, just about which classrooms are included. So you can pause this video at any point, obviously, and have a look at what you are. And then these are the days that different year groups are in each zone. Now, all of this information may change, obviously, as we go through, and we'll update this as we go through it to make sure we've got the best strategy possible. So there may be some more changes to this, but if there are, we'll send them out. So, timetable, again, there's been a huge amount of change to the timetable, and we've completely rewritten the school day. This again is to support student safety and to make sure that it's as calm as possible in school. So we've moved from 6 to 3 lessons a day, and that's been really important. We've now got 2-hour lessons on a Monday, and 2 2-hour lessons and a 1-hour lesson on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then 2 2-hour lessons on a Friday. I'll show you that in information in a minute, so don't worry about having to keep that in your heads. The lessons are longer, so there's less movement around the school, and this means that we've been able to make sure that we're running a full curriculum and all students and all lessons are still running. And as I say, we've staggered the start and the end of the day, and we've staggered break and lunch times. So this is what it looks like, and you can see that there's an overview of the school there. So you can see that lesson 1 is from 8:20 to 10:20. Obviously for year 11 that's slightly different, but they've got a little bit longer at the end of the day. You can then see that there's tutor period, which we call in character, every single day, and that's to support movement, and then 2 year groups on break. And you can see how lunch is going to be broken up, and I'll talk to you about lunchtime in a minute. So break and lunch, and again, there'll be no food service at break time. And again, we can't manage, and our catering team, we can't possibly try and serve 1,000 children. And the problem with that, obviously, is that if we have too many children, the corridors will be too crowded. So break and lunch will be spent in separate zones for each year group, and we've got an indoor and an outdoor space, so that if it is raining, if it is cold, then students can still stay indoors. And if you do have a school lunch, then we've changed the system for that as well. So it's not a case of students going up to the canteen and ordering what they want. Obviously, some of the sacrifices we're having to make, and this is really important, that what we're going to do is you'll have to buy your school lunch on parent pay a week in advance. We will then have a look at that. We will go through all of those students who have bought lunches, we'll add them to the free school meals, and then those lunches will be delivered to the indoor space for that year group. So you have to do that in advance. That's really, really important. You can't do that on the day now. You need to do that a week in advance. And to begin with, there's going to be a very, very limited option. This is to make sure that we can get through everything, to make sure that everything is okay, and we can stick to these really, really strict hygiene routines that we've got in schools, because what we don't want are lots and lots of students moving. What we don't want is lots of risk of transmission. So there's going to be a very, very limited option for students. And then lunch will be delivered to each of the dining spaces for each year group. So if you do want a more varied lunch, then you will have to bring a packed lunch, and obviously you'll have to take that home with you and dispose of all the waste and keep that in your lunch box in your packed lunch. Okay, so if you want to contact school, and again, we're having to change that. So we're not allowing any families on site without a pre-arranged meeting. Again, this is to reduce the risk of infection. All of these things is about keeping the school as safe as possible and making sure we're controlled. So I know that would be disappointing for some of you, but it's really, really important. We're also not allowing any cars on site because, again, that will increase the risk of infection. So students will have to walk to school using the entrances. And accompanying this video, there will also be a series of videos for students in each year group in secondary, just explaining the routines and the entrances and the exits of school. So all year groups, apart from those students in Accelerator, in the inclusion rooms, and in year 7, those 3 groups will use the Gibbet Hall, the Gibbet Street entrance, the pedestrian gate, and then all of the other students in years 8, 9, 10 and 11 will use the Spring Hall Lane entrance. And that's really important, again, that we keep this pedestrian flow, because we want more and more students. We want that idea of walking, keeping healthy, but also we're not having any cars on site. Again, we've changed the way we contact school, so you can phone into school still as normal, but obviously we'll have more and more administration to do. So what we're also setting up are year group emails. Now these are different from the progress leader emails. These are just general inquiries about your student. It's just so that we can make sure they're going to the right place. And this will be, these emails will be checked regularly throughout the day to make sure that you get a quick response. And again, this is to make sure that we can communicate really, really clearly with you. Each year group has got an email. You can also phone the school, and this is really important. Please, if you do phone the school and nobody answers, it's not because we're ignoring the phones, it's because obviously we've got lots and lots on. So please leave a message if you want someone to get back to you. So, hygiene and health and safety, and there are some key routines we've put in place. We've purchased over 50 different hand washing stations. These are portable hand washing stations where students can wash their hands, and we know that washing hands is the most important thing you can do to fight this. That's the best way to get germs off your hands, much, much better than sanitizer. So every student will wash their hands on the way into school. That's really important, and we'll make sure that happens. So they come into school, they wash their hands, and then they go to their first classroom. In each of the classrooms, we've also got hand sanitizer dispensers. So when they get to the classroom, they'll be able to sanitize their hands. Throughout the day, we've got a one-way system around school to make sure that we don't get students mixing on corridors and crossing over. And we've also got extra cleaners in to make sure that any touch surfaces will also be cleaned down during this one-way system. We've installed a tannoy system, which means we can communicate much, much clearer with the students and coordinate movement across the school, so we won't have 2 or 3 year groups coming out of lesson at the same time and causing a crowd on the corridor. So we've also invested that. And again, as I've said, we've reorganised the school day to reduce student movement and limit mixing, and also staggered the starts and the ends of the day. And all of this is about keeping students safe. All of this is about when they're in school, trying to keep those bubbles separate so that students don't mix. I also want to talk to you about face coverings. So the guidance has only come out about half an hour ago that the change in government advice today. Now, we will be wanting students to wear face coverings, so please make sure that they've got a face covering and they bring that in. We will give you more guidance next week about where and when that they will be worn, but please make sure that they've got them. It will definitely be when students move around the building and at break and lunchtime, and we're currently discussing whether or not it helps classroom learning or not, but we'll confirm that next week. So, finally, just a couple of scenarios. First of all, just wanted to answer the question of what do I do if my child or I am feeling unwell? And this is really important because all of this is about supporting each other. Now, I know that over the last few years, we have said, send your child to school no matter what, no matter how ill they're feeling, get them in school. That's the most important thing. Obviously, with all of this going on at the moment, with the coronavirus and the danger of infection, we're going to have to slightly change that message. So the message is now that if you or your child is feeling unwell, and it's really important we listen to that it's about the family as well, anyone in the family, if they are feeling unwell or have any of these symptoms, a persistent new cough, high temperature, flu-like symptoms, or a loss of smell or taste, you keep them at home. Anybody should be at home. You should quarantine yourself. You should isolate yourself until you've had a test and the result of the test. And that's really important. So first of all, stay at home and keep all members of your family at home. Do not have any visitors. Brothers, sisters must stay at home. Aunts, uncles, whoever you live with have to stay at home. Contact the school immediately if any one of your children or if anybody has these symptoms, and then get a test. And that's really important. And I know that there's a testing centre in Asda, and we're talking to public health more and more about what we can do to support testing. But you can walk in basically. You don't have to make an appointment. Just get yourself to Asda, get yourself tested, and then stay at home until you get the results of those tests. Once you've got that test result, then contact school and we can discuss with you what we do next. And that's really important. That we can then say, right, this is what you need to do. You need to basically, if you get a positive test, you need to stay home for 7 days. Your family then needs to stay home for 10 days, and that's in isolation, and that's without anybody. The reason why it's so strict and the reason why we have to be really, really vigilant is because this is about protecting each other. All of these measures aren't just about our own health and safety. It's also about protecting each other and protecting the community. So we've got this, all of those symptoms are really, really important. That if anyone in your family gets those, then you keep them at home. So finally, what do we do if my child or I, or what happens if there is an outbreak in school? All right, if we get cases in school. Well, the first thing we'll do is contact Public Health Calderdale, because again, the guidance isn't that clear at the moment, and we will always seek guidance from the professionals. We will never put children at risk, and we'll never put staff at risk. If we feel it's right to close, we will. Now, the idea of the bubble system is that only 1 year group would ever go home. So you would then have one year group not coming in. It might be a case of actually only part of that year group. So in year 7 and year 8, we've created micro bubbles, so smaller bubbles within the year group where they don't mix. So it might just be part of the year group goes home in 7 and 8. For the older year groups, it would be in at 9, 10 and 11, it would be the whole year group. So that year group would then go home. If we needed to, we would also then have to close the school, okay? And that is an option we will take, and we will make sure that we keep people safe. No matter what happens, remote learning will continue. And when your children come in September, we will do a lot of training on Microsoft Teams, and they can experience what it is, and we can make sure that you understand how we're going to continue remote learning. So even if the school is closed, even if a year group is off, even if a child is self-quarantining or self-isolating, they'll still have access to resources to make sure that they don't get further behind. So that's as much information as I want to give to you tonight. It's really important that you have a look through, take your time to go through all of this. We'll be sending all of this information out in a letter as well, so that you've got it to reference. And as I say, if you have any questions, then please do contact the school. Our most important thing at the moment is reassuring you that school is as safe as we can make it to be. We have spent a lot of time and a lot of money on making sure that we've done everything we can possibly think of to make it as safe as possible. We look forward to seeing all of you in September. Take care, keep safe, and speak to you soon.